Hello guys, this is Locke, YGO, and welcome back to the channel, and today guys I'm bringing you my Fossil deck profile. So guys, Fossil is looking like one of the strongest, possibly even meta decks of the next format, so the SGX4, the midterm destruction format, and it's even a very fun deck to play guys. So it's not expensive if you're playing in America and didn't have to order the cards from overseas, and it's very fun, so I advise you guys to try this deck out because it's amazing. So we start the deck profile as always with the heart of the deck, which is the skill. It's Jim Crocodile Cook, and the skill is Major in Paleontology. And the skill says that once per turn you can banish one card from your hand face down and then place 1d counter on this card. Also, if one of your fossil fusion monsters is destroyed, you can also place one counter on this card, but keep in mind that you can only have one counter at a time on this card. And then you can remove one counter from this card and fusion summon using monsters from your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard in order to make one of the fossil fusion monsters. That's all for the skill, and now we move on into the main deck. So we play triple copies of Weathering Soldier. It's a beat stick, 2000 attack, and if it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to add one Fossil Fusion or one card that mentions Fossil Fusion. Keep in mind that he has a drawback on its effect, that is in your end phase, he will lose 600 attack points. So he will get weaker each of your end phases, but it's still okay because we want them to get destroyed after you beat down over your opponent's monsters. Moving on, Shell Knight, one copy. This can be searched off Weathering Soldier. It's just a monster that we want to have that is actually searchable by Weathering Soldier, not just the spell that I'll show you in a little bit. And if this guy's normal summon, he gets switched to defense position and it will inflict 500 points of burn damage. It has another effect, but it does not come up in this variant of the build. Moving on, we play one copy of Fossil Tusker. It's just a beat stick that can burn your opponent, just one more aggressive monster to try and take control of the field, and one copy of Revival Golem. We're playing this because it's a versatile card in which if it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can either add it to the hand or special summon it into your field, and keep in mind that it's 2100 defense, which is actually very strong. And finally, the last normal summons of the deck, we play Triple Delta, and some of you might be confused why Delta is here. I'll explain to you guys. So if you summon, you can send one Magnet Warrior from your deck to your graveyard, right? And you just send another Delta, and he's a rock type, so he will be fuel, easy fuel for your Fossil Fusion monsters. Therefore, it's actually a pretty great normal summon with decent attack that we can just summon and start fueling the graveyard with other rock types. And finally, we play double copy of Sphere Kuriboh just to defend ourselves from the opponent's monsters, because sometimes this deck takes some time to set up the graveyard in order to go for its combo. And don't worry, I'll show the combo in a little bit. It's not hard, but I'll still show it to you guys. Moving on, that's all for the monsters. We go into the spells and we play Triple Time Stream. This spell is searchable by Weathering Soldier, and it's the main combo enabler of the deck, which allows you to tribute one Fossil Fusion monster you control for one that's 2 original levels higher than the one you tributed. Also, it has an effect on the graveyard, which is really useful, that says that you can banish Time Stream and one Fossil Fusion monster that's on your graveyard, and then target another Fossil Fusion monster that's in your graveyard and special summon it to your field. So this is overall a very strong card, guys. Next, we play the best spell and tap removal in the game, Mystical Space Typhoon. It's proving to be an amazing card, guys, don't sleep on it. And then one copy of Foolish Burial to help your graveyard getting set up with the rock types you need. Finally, the last spell is one Offerings to the Doom to help you maintain control of the board state, and keep in mind you lose your draw phase if you use this spell, so you have to use it wisely. Next, into the traps, we play Triple Paleozoic Canadia. This is a very strong card. It flips one of your opponent's monsters into face down defense position. Keep in mind that this effect targets, and then it has the effect that all Paleozoics have, that if you guys don't know, when a trap is activated you can chain link this guy right after and special summon it from your graveyard as a monster with 1200 attack, 0 defense that is not affected by monster effects. And then we play double copy of Sakuretsu Armor, just some very good defensive card to help stop your opponent's attack while you're still trying to set up your own game plan. And finally, one copy of Rock Bombardment in order to send a rock type from your deck to your graveyard and inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. And keep in mind, you can send Revival Golem to the graveyard and you can special summon it or add it to your hand. That's all for the main deck. Now we go into the extra and side deck. So for the extra, we play double copies of Skullbone, one Skull Buggy, double copies of Skull Knight, and one Skull Geos. And during your standard combo, you go from Skullbone into Skull Knight and then into Skull Geos if you want. And Skull Buggy is here because he's easier to summon than these two, and it's actually a searcher for a fossil fusion card. So if this guy is in a graveyard, you can banish this and add one monster from your deck to your hand that mentions fossil fusion, so you can either search Shell Knight or Weathering Soldier if this guy is in the graveyard. Also, if he destroys a monster by battle, you can inflict 600 points of burn damage to your opponent. Regarding the other fusions, I'll show you guys how they work in the combo in a little bit, so please just be patient. Moving on, into the side deck, we play double copy of Kaiko the Destroyer. I know, it's weird, this is a rock type deck, but this card is very good in this format because of decks like this one. Since this deck is shaping up to be such a meta threat, we need to deal with it, and by dealing with this deck is with stuff like this that banish monsters from the graveyard. And same applies for Chosai the Ghost Stopper, but instead of monsters it banishes spell and traps, which we sometimes want to have in the graveyard as well, stuff like Kanade, which is just a generic staple, or stuff like Time Stream. Then finally we play one Hammer Shot to help get rid of your opponent's strongest monsters while we're still trying to set up our board, and then double copy of Lost Wind, which guys this card is actually shaping up to be a very strong card in this format because the game has sped up a lot and there's a lot more of special summoning, and there's also a lot more of special summoning from the extra deck, which will trigger Lost Wind's graveyard effect that allows you to set it and then you can use it again, but keep in mind that the next time you use it, it will be banished. So guys, this is it for the deck, and now I'll go ahead and show you how the combo works. So for this combo you will have at least one or more rocks in your graveyard and one discard, or not discard but one fodder card and Time Stream. So first things first, you start with your skills effect, which you banish face down one card from your hand and it gets a counter. Then you remove the counter from the skill in order to banish monsters from either graveyard to fusion summon. In this scenario, we're assuming that your opponent has no monsters, but if your opponent has one level 4 or lower monster, that can only be used and you only need one rock type. So I'll banish one of my rock types and a level 4 or lower monster in order to summon Fossil Warrior Skullbone. Next, Skullbone is on the field, but we do not want them on the field, we want them in the graveyard, so we'll use Time Stream, attributing a level 4 Fossil Fusion monster in order to fusion summon one level 6 fusion monster. Next, we can use Skullbone's graveyard effect, which is banishing himself, in order to search the deck for one more copy of Time Stream. And then guys, you can choose to use Time Stream if you want, this is not mandatory, but you can use Time Stream, tribute the level 6 Fossil Fusion monster, in order to summon the level 8 Fossil Dragon Skullgaius. And guys, this guy inflicts double piercing battle damage if he battles a defense position monster, and you can also switch the attack and defense of the opponent's monsters. And with Skull Knight in the grave, you can also banish it in order to destroy one of your opponent's monsters, and then you can punch him directly for 3500 attack, which is very strong. This deck can very easily OTK, so do not sleep on it and be prepared, because you will be encountering decks like this that can easily kill you guys. But yeah, that's all for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe maybe, leave a comment down below what you think about it, what you want to see in the future of the channel, and anything you say I will read. I read all the comments, guys. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I'll see you on the next one. This is LockYGO.